Welcome to the Screen Time Continuum. It's a wonderful hump day out here. What's going on with you guys out there? My name is Keelan, and we are here with you to bring you the review of the movie called The Menu. My name is Keelan. I am here with Nick and Mike. What's going on, Nick?
Hey, happy Wednesday, man. I'm well. How are
Happy
you?
Wednesday, brother. I'm very well. Can't complain. It's moving along. I didn't realize it was Wednesday. I think the majority of the day I kept saying Tuesday and got corrected 30% of the time, which made me kind of sad when I realized I was saying the wrong day most of the day.
Nah, I mean, that's okay. It happens to the best of us.
I appreciate being considered one of the best of us.
We have a car door as our guest as well.
Cardor, what's going on over there? No, what's going on,
Hump
Mike?
day.
Hump day.
Sorry, car door was acting up. We have to cuss him out later.
Yeah, it's all right. You know, every good guest has to make an appearance in their own way, and Cardor is tired of being ignored. We get it.
Yeah, I had to cuss that mother. I had to say a few words. Unkind. Anyway, how's it going, fellas? What's going on? What's the good word? What's the good news?
Man, I'm doing well. Just ready to list some things and go over the courses that are in front of us.
Man, let's start with the amuse bouche.
We can
As you
definitely
do.
start with the amuse bouche. How else would we begin, right? So yes, definitely, guys. We're here to review the 2022 horror thriller movie entitled The Menu. The Menu is directed by Mark Mylod or Millard. Not sure how to pronounce that. Uh, it budgeted the budget for this movie was $30 million. It is a Gary Sanchez production, also Hyper Object Industries production. Producers are Adam McKay, Will Ferrell, and Betsy Kosh. The movie stars Anna Taylor Joy, Ralph Fiennes, Nicholas Hoult, Janet McTeer, Hong Chow, Hong Cho probably. Amy Carrero, and a plethora of other people that you might notice from other things. People such as John Leguizamo, and again, a few other faces that might be familiar, and a lot of other faces that will not be familiar. The only reason I'm going about the cast in that way is doesn't really matter who you learn. It's only one person that you're going to need to know about. With that being said, this movie is a film. It is penned by Will Tracy and Seth Reese. It focuses on a young couple who visits an exclusive destination restaurant on a remote island where the acclaimed chef has prepared a lavish tasting menu. That is the Google plot, and we're going to just leave it there.
We got Corey in. He's our honorary member of Screen Time Continuum. Thanks for tuning in, Corey. He says, "Hey guys, watch this one," and I hold it against you. We're in trouble.
It's understandable. I definitely suggested this to a few people because we knew we had it coming on the list a while ago, and I had a few people watch it. Corey, you're not the only person to have a similar statement like that. But most people, they feel the way I feel. So we'll get to how I feel as we push through. Yeah. First thoughts, first impressions, guys. What do you guys have?
I'm hungry.
Starving.
You hungry?
Mhm.
I'm starving for more good quality film.
I agree with that.
I liked it. I mean, I thought it was an amazing movie.
Fair.
But that's just me. I mean, what you think, Nick?
I watched it twice. I watched it the first time and I couldn't get through it, but that's because I was going through some stuff and I had kind of a bad headspace. So I rewatched it today, and yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's a serviceable movie. It's got some interesting ideas. It's heavy-handed on its social critique, which I find kind of tiresome. But Ray Fiennes is great. The rest of the cast doesn't really matter a whole lot. Anya Taylor-Joy doesn't really matter a whole lot. But it was kind of cool to see a different take on almost like a murderous Willy Wonka. And I thought that was...
Wait, wasn't Willy Wonka kind of murderous?
Yes, he was. That's
There was no
true.
actual murder. You know what? That would actually be really cool. An actual murdering Willy Wonka movie, but we'll discuss that later.
Mhm.
Corey says, I don't care about any of the characters. I think this might be the first movie I can honestly say that about. Yeah, I mean, so a part of my initial or first thoughts, I really like this movie. I think execution really explains why. Most movies, most films, most storylines suck and struggle so hard with execution. I feel like this movie had easily two or three final like endpoints that could have been the end of the movie. So, and they were done so well that when we continued forward, all I kept thinking during the movie was, man, that was executed perfectly. And that's the acting, the production, a lot of things. Now there are some things that didn't go so well, but
There's only one
we
thing
watched
I
a lot.
didn't like about the whole movie.
What's that?
We'll get what's the, yeah.
Mostly it's the end, but it's the character,
Okay.
the female. I
I
don't know
didn't
her name.
expect you to like. I didn't
Weird
expect you to
face.
like Margot.
Yeah, I didn't like her.
No, no
Weird
joke.
face.
I literally thought to myself, Mike's gonna hate the hell out of Margot. Like he's gonna hate Margot.
Yeah,
He's gonna wish Margot.
I did. Totally did. Absolutely.
I
I
think
was hoping
there's
she would catch a pitchfork in the eye or something.
there's really not much to her character. It's everything is just happening to her, and she's kind of. I think it's a well. I'm not 100% thrilled with the sort of cop out at the end, but we can get to that point. I don't really like Anya Taylor-Joy all that much. I don't know why
She looks
everybody
weird to
loves her.
me.
Oh, of course she does. That's why she's in movies, because she has a novel face. But
Right.
you
Is she
know,
down?
huh?
We
Is
don't
she
know.
down?
We don't
Oh
know.
God.
We don't know. Just she reminds me of a mix. She's somewhere between Anne Hathaway and Margot Robbie, and it doesn't translate the same way as a single Anne Hathaway or Margot Robbie would.
Really?
I said it doesn't translate the way one of them would standalone. She's a blend between.
All right.
That doesn't necessarily say good or bad. I'm just
I
stating.
know.
Corey said that looked like a real exclusive island restaurant setting. Totally believable. I actually, yeah. No.
He's being sarcastic, probably.
It looked like a test kitchen, if we're being totally honest.
Yeah, that was a very low budget sort of decision, I think, for sure, because it did not look like an island that people would be a resort. But I guess, there. So there are some things that I like about the story, which is this critique about how critique sucks the joy out of everything, and how the ante is constantly being upped to the point where you're no longer doing the thing that you started off loving to do, and you become numb to it almost. I think that's an interesting commentary, and yeah, I didn't think that was too terrible. But there was one thing that really bothered me, and it was the boyfriend. I couldn't stand. He
was
almost
supposed to be unlikable.
Right, but he almost threw me out of it. And I think they did another little cop out here where they said that he knew about the whole thing. I don't know.
That was the confusing part, but we can kind of dive in on that a little.
All right. Well, let's start at
let's
the
go
amuse
ahead and get
bouche
through
then.
Well, we have to start a little before the amuse bouche. Not too much because it comes pretty fast. Pause. We have to meet everybody. So we meet Tyler and Margot as they're literally outside waiting for the ferry to come, and he's chastising her about the whole cigarette thing. I think that's very important. Because he has this whole, oh, it ruins your palate, which, yeah, I mean, he makes a fair point. But in the moment, you find out this guy spent $1,250 per person in this restaurant. You find out that Margot recognizes one of the other restaurants or what we call it, customers, excuse me. At the same time as Tyler recognizing the food critic. So we're really introduced to everybody, and he recognizes we never get the actors. We never get his name, do we? Well, we do at the beginning, but it doesn't get carried because nobody calls him his name through it. But yeah, let's call him the actor, John Leguizamo's character.
Dr. Sunshine.
Right.
Yeah, Dr. Sunshine, which them calling him Dr. Sunshine made me think of his character in Spawn, the clown.
Oh,
Mm.
the Violator.
Violator. It literally every time it just made me think of Violator. But that's probably one of his best roles to me. Like one of my favorite roles for John Leguizamo was
Oh,
Violator.
it wasn't Tu Wong Fu.
That's funny. Which is also a funny movie. But but yeah, so we get through all of that, and it's for me. So you guys want to start at the amuse bouche. I want to start at the mouthfeel of the oysters on the ferry.
Yeah, I can't stand that character. I think that he's awful, and I just he's almost to a
Yes.
point where it's unbelievable in some ways because I don't know, man. And
I've met
it
some terrible
it
people, but I
makes
don't know if
more
they're that bad.
sense. Their awkward interaction with each other makes more sense once you get a little bit more information about the nature of their relationship. But um, yeah, I think it like his character was so off-putting that I did feel like a little bit like Corey and almost want to not watch it because of him. So I guess that's a good job. You did a good job if that's what they were trying to do.
I
But
think so because I
No,
actually took the opposite of that, and I felt like she was the ruiner of it.
so here's the thing: you guys are kind of split right where I was. I was thinking they're going to be the two to ruin everything, and I didn't understand how it was all going to play out. And in a sense, we were all right, right? Um, but to me, I was waiting for them to get into something, and that to just cause like this trickle down effect of the terrible things that can come because now you're stuck on this remote island with people who control the outcome of what you do, which is something I had already foresaw. Um, Now I didn't. You can't foresee what happens. I'll tell you that. But yeah.
mm,
Also, I enjoyed the tour. That tour of the 12-acre island. You know where they grow, prepare, harvest, ferment, liquefy, slaughter, marinate, spirify, and gel.
no, sorry. When I saw all of those beds together, I'd have been like, "Can I leave?"
I'm out.
Yeah, I ain't messing with this. This is weird.
Listen, when I saw
Well,
that
weird.
Jim Jones camp, because that's what it looked like. That's
It
just
was for
that's what
sure
it looked like.
mixed with
Uh,
Heaven's Gate.
yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, split right down the middle. I was like,
yeah.
"Why are you guys still there?" I was like, "Why are you guys even gonna eat food that they prepare for you? This looks nuts."
Yeah, of course,
Oh,
of course, it was on purpose that everyone were classless POSs, but the
Right.
rudeness and the gracelessness makes it ugly. Yeah, no,
Yes.
it was very grating the way they all acted, to be honest. Yeah,
Right.
and
I
I
like.
kind of at the end was like, okay, I'm ready for
I'm down.
s'mores. Actually,
Oh yeah,
I'm
no.
good
Once
for
I found out.
s'mores.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. And I will
Anyway,
say, Corey's comment about the cigarette thing at the very beginning. Yeah. No. When he first did that, I was like, "What the fuck are we watching?"
mm,
That's why I wanted to bring that up because that immediately put a nasty feel on everything. But again, I think that's what it was supposed to do. To Corey's comment about everybody just being in class as POS. Yes, and I realized, and I'll repeat this later. Later on, when he makes that statement about you guys could have fought harder, it's like you didn't even try. I think that's why, because they all know they're that much pieces of shit, and they're being called out on it, and they're not used to being called out on it, and it literally immobilized them.
I also think there's a small shred of them who are like out of touch enough to think that it's still a performance piece
Yes, yes,
at
that
some
part,
point.
yes.
You know what
But
I
they were
mean?
still,
Like,
yeah, they were still
yeah.
thinking that upon the sever and removal, which we'll get to as well. Like they cut off dude's finger and they're like, oh no, this is part of the performance. No, the fuck is not.
Hmm.
No, this has nothing to do with a
to be
performance.
fair, they thought that when the well, we getting a little ahead of
Yeah,
ourselves,
yeah, we're
but
getting too far right now. So the workers were not allowed in Chef's Cottage, and in the restaurant, there was already the older lady sitting there drinking the wine. Also keep in mind that when we first get there, when they first arrive on the island, um Elise, the the Asian helper lady, I don't remember her name. I think that was Elise. Um she's looking at Margot from the very or Aaron from the very beginning, like, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here.
Mm.
Like trying to give her the nastiest leave looks. And I thought to myself in that moment, when I look back, of course, I had thought to myself in that moment, like, nah, how about you just don't allow her on the island? She wasn't on the guest list. If it's such a high class place, no, you're not bringing somebody who wasn't vetted already.
I would have been okay with that.
Right.
Then she wouldn't have been in there.
A different
Right.
movie, but
Yeah.
I think that would have been, something to go along with it, because they have their moment much later where Lisa, you realize, is just delusional as hell. But it seemed like from the very beginning they didn't like Tyler, and I was trying to figure out why. So I guess we weren't the only ones that were supposed to hate Tyler. Like, as the staff, we were supposed to hate Tyler. I mean, excuse me, as the customers or the viewers, we were supposed to hate Tyler. The staff hates Tyler. The chef hates Tyler. The other people around Tyler hate Tyler because he's just an asshat.
He's a sycophant.
Mm-hmm.
That is
And far too, he's a critic. That's the thing, is that it goes to show towards the end of his part of the story, but he has no idea about food in the preparation of it. He's just an eater. He just eats the food, and
he's a gourmand.
Yeah, he just doesn't. He knows nothing about the cooking process, but yet he can sense the bergamot in a tea that has a whole bunch of other things. It's like, you're fucking useless. You don't appreciate it.
Right. You taste this one thing that you know and can identify.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, what about the seventh? Never mind. But yeah, that's actually a really good point, because him literally trying to go step by step with everything the chefs were doing is like, oh, they're using this, and the whole braggadocious attitude towards things. I actually appreciated the way he was handled much later. I highly appreciated the way he was handled, honestly. That showed to me a high level of class in the chef, even though this ain't the most classful, this ain't the most high class situation that he's putting them through. But I thought that showed a high level of class in that moment. Just like, you know what? I'm tired of your shit. Let me at least let you know who you're not before this all ends, because you've ruined everybody else's day here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not one chef in there. The death stares that the chef gave him when he was cooking the lamb. I thought that was one of the best scenes to me. I thought that was one of the best shots to me. Of that, the death stares from a bunch of people who didn't have one line. All they had to do was make the right face and they would get camera time. And they did that. That was nice to me. And not easy. I'm sure they had to cycle through a good amount of extras to find the right shot. So yeah, but anyway, from there we get to the amuse-bouche. The amuse-bouche course. Oh dang, I didn't say what the appetizer course. The appetizer course was a raw local oyster with a mignonette emotion with lemon caviar and an oyster leaf. But the amuse-bouche is a compressed pickled cucumber melon with milk snow and a charred lace. What does that mean? I don't fucking know. I just read it and put it down on paper.
It's just the fancy stuff. So I mean, like, this whole thing is about everybody who, when you're wealthy, you want the finest things, and the finest things keep reaching out to the edge of the bleeding edge of what we know. And then you want more avant-garde stuff. You want more stuff that's not even really food. You get this, coming up, we're going to get a representation of that, where it's like, it's taken to its nth degree, where the pomposity has reached critical mass, and you're no longer even eating food anymore. You're just fucking licking a fork, and
literally.
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting commentary for sure, because I think food does get like that sometimes. I think that people get so pretentious about food. It's kind of like art in that way, where, a streak of paint across a giant canvas is worth $10 million just because some person said it was.
Or 16.
Right.
And no, but you're absolutely right. I mean, one thing I love to do, and I always encourage people to do this, if you get one of those like general gift cards that you can go to any restaurant with, or like a variety of restaurants, always choose the highest priced restaurant, because after you use that gift card, what you pay is what you would typically pay going to the restaurants you go to. And then you get a different experience. Now, have I been able to do that? No, but I tell everybody else to do it, so that when I'm able to do it, we can all share stories.
Fancy restaurants are nice, but I mean,
I'm not giving anybody $200 for a steak plate.
No. Yeah.
I don't care if you wrapped it in
Yeah.
gold.
It would have to be a really special occasion where I'm like, all right, I got this money that I'm willing to burn. I want to get weird with my food, you know, and it'd be like a once in a 10-year thing.
Right. That's why I firmly believe the day somebody gives me like one of those $100 Visa cards, splurge. I'm just going to a restaurant, ordering one plate. That's the whole $100 right there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what restaurant yet because I don't know if I'm allowed in places like that.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to go to the good ones, $100 wouldn't even cover the gratuity.
Oh,
Right.
dang. So I got to
Yeah.
take $100 of my own money to eat and $100 gift card to tip.
Yeah, I mean, like places like Nobu, right? Nobu's like one of the most well-known seafood places in LA, sushi and seafood. I mean, you can spend easily $400 for a meal for two at Nobu.
Is Nobu the Japanese place or the Brazilian place?
It's Japanese, I believe.
Japanese.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, nope,
I prefer the Brazilian steakhouse if I'm trying to eat.
Fogo de Chao is amazing.
If I'm gonna eat, I want the
Yeah.
Brazilian food.
How you
Of course
spell
you do. Fogo de Chao.
No, don't spell it. I'm just
Okay.
You spell it expensive.
But there was that really. Did we all go to that one spot? That other churrascaria that one of our friends found.
I am not sure. I think we've
think we-
eaten so many different places. Maybe.
Yeah.
Man, I want to go to churrascaria now.
Hey Corey, we see that comment right there. We'll definitely
Oh,
get
hold
to
on. There we go.
it. No worries. Corey said, "Well, if he knew it was suicide, well, he's actually insane and belonged in an asylum." So
He did know.
He did. He is 1,000% knew. So the morality is highly questionable how they treated the character.
Oh yeah, he's a piece of
Oh
shit.
he was. That's what we were all kind of talking about. Like, I agree. Yes, he was supposed to be the most disliked and the most hated. And if you didn't think that, halfway through when we get to he and Chef's interaction, you find out very quickly that he is supposed to literally be the most hated person on this cast.
But he's also not supposed to be there alone. He was supposed to be there with somebody else.
Well, he wasn't there alone.
Well,
But
not alone, but he was supposed to be there with another person.
His fiance or girlfriend or something.
someone
Right.
which again to me was a symbol of how terrible or shit of a person he was. He couldn't even make it to this plateau in which you were just dating this person a month ago and they're supposed to come to this restaurant with you and now you're no longer even with them.
She dodged a bullet, eh?
Oh, she dodged it.
Well, she dumped him.
Yeah, she dumped him. And so what I'm thinking is he knew, and because he knew, he told her, because he seems like the kind of pretentious asshat that would think because he's gonna do it, she would still done it.
Maybe he did know for 8 months. So
Was it 8 months? I thought it was a month. 8 months? That's insane.
he said 8 months. We've been talking. Yeah, him and the chef had been talking.
Look, I'm looking back through my notes right now. Like, that's insane. I'm sure I have that written somewhere. Man, you just blew my mind. 8 months, dude. Yeah, no, but agreed, Corey. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, he's a whole
Glad he
weirdo.
wasn't in an asylum, because if he were in an asylum, he would not have. I mean, he would still be out here fucking with people, even though it's all fictional. So at the beginning, Chef introduces himself and the meal and the picture, and then they dine, and he makes sure that he tells them. Well, first they get some rules, like don't take pictures, which Tyler continues to do, but we'll talk about that in a minute. He's clear, and I had noticed from the beginning he was obsessed. But the chef asked them one thing and one thing only: do not eat, taste. Well, you didn't give them anything to chew on, chef, so of course they're only going to taste.
Mm-hmm.
Just
No,
saying.
that goes back to what I mean, yeah, that goes back to the whole thing, right? Is that it's become such a farce. Food has become such a farce for him that he can serve you a plate of condiments and you'll pay $300 for just that one plate.
He can serve you a plate of bread with no bread because you don't deserve it.
Right.
This bread is for poor people and you're rich. What?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't give me this bread, and I like how at least that was the moment where everybody's like, yeah, he's just like, hey, so can we get bread? Like, wait like 10 minutes, joking like, okay, so hey, listen, so I get it. Can I get some bread now? Like, what are we doing? I like
Hmm.
that because that was like
You don't
that's
deserve bread.
you don't oh my god. She said you will what did she say to him? You will eat less than you desire, but more than you deserve. Oh
Hmm.
man, that had me like, oh, I never want to say anything to anybody to make them speak to me like that. I never want to make another person speak to me that way. That was nasty.
Yeah,
Um,
that's like a hex.
yeah, yeah, for
Hmm.
sure. But it was almost like they slowly but surely started turning the heat up. It was like you started seeing, like, they're in a kitchen. So you really started seeing the heat turn up in the kitchen. You started seeing the discomfort. You started seeing uh, 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 the different customers get antsy in their own ways. I mean, you have the old guy, what was it, Mr. Liebrant? He was antsy from the moment he saw Margot,
Hmm.
which he's a nasty dude. Um, so anyway, Chef gets Margot, and tries to get her to eat. He tries to talk to her. Um, what else happened with her and Chef? Oh,
She's just
he,
not supposed to be there, and
yeah,
he doesn't know what to do with her yet.
right. And
Yeah.
so again, as Nick said, Chef is the only person I feel like really matters because without him, nothing moves forward.
Yeah.
Right. Um,
Yes, chef.
Margot is only important. Right. Margot was only important because Chef deemed her important enough to find out who she was, rather than just kill her like everybody else.
Hmm.
Um, well, even though she was gonna die, but he made the effort to discover who are the customers in his restaurant, which to me showed his not only his attention to detail, but why this was going the way it was going. And even when we first meet Jeremy, right? And that's what third course is Jeremy, right before the tacos. And or is it after the tacos? I think it's after the tacos. So fourth. Sorry.
Third, or it's the fourth, I guess, right after
Yes,
the
fourth.
move. Yeah.
Yeah, the mess is fourth
Hmm.
because it was a moose bouche. First course was the island, which was the rock and the they were eating the island and frozen seawater and shit, gelatinous seawater. The
Hmm.
second course was the vinaigrette with the Pinot Noir. Um, third course was chicken thigh tacos, which that was also an interesting story. The story of his mother and his father and his dad choking his mom out with the phone cord. But that was the day he also stabbed his father with a pair of scissors. I mean, again, for me, detail. That's why for execution, it was just they discuss things, they would talk about things, and you would visually see it pop up in front of you. I didn't really understand the phone cord plate and the thigh and the scissors. I thought that was just a bit much. But you know what? If it was to, I don't want to say trigger, but if it was to, get the point across of the story he just made, well, at least that part was made, right?
Well, and
It
then
gave,
he takes the scissors in his thigh again, and
yes,
further on. So I guess that's probably just an allusion to what's going to happen next.
Honestly,
I think that was cool.
I thought she was stabbing him in the balls.
That's what I thought at
It
first too.
looked like it. Yeah.
But if you
And
stab
I
somebody
cringed
right
quite
behind
a
the
bit.
thigh, huh? Wait, say that again.
I said I cringed quite a bit.
Oh. Never mind. Sorry. Uh, patriarchy is bad. Agreed, Corey. But him taking the scissors in the thigh later from Catherine, I think her name was. Him taking those scissors, I believe, was him falling. The sins of the father. Like he's become his father in so many ways. Um, and I believe he blames his mother for that, which is why she's sitting there the entire time drinking wine quietly because she knows what's going on and she knows the monster she created. When Jeremy dies, and let me know if you guys agree with me on this one. When Jeremy dies, I believe that is the moment for me, at least, where I was like, "Oh,
It's a turn in the movie. Yeah.
yeah,
Because up
it's
until then, I didn't really know what the hell I was expecting. And I was like, I can't watch all of these people be pretentious about food for another 2 hours. So
right,
um, I'm glad it turned.
right." I'm gonna say when Jeremy died or when Jeremy committed, did what he did. Um, honestly,
Deletion.
it was a relief. It was we're gonna actually be killing people in this. Like
Mhm.
we're not gonna just play with it. We're not gonna like, oh, this person went over here and then they disappeared, and ooh, what happened to Joe? No, 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 no. You're gonna see it live on camera, like in real time. I was like, oh, this is gonna
Yeah,
be
there was a thought where it was gonna be, are we gonna see them people disappear and they're gonna be miraculously see a new meal, a new
that's
dish?
what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking, Mike.
I'm glad they didn't go that. I'm glad they didn't do that. That would have been too
Me
predictable.
neither, because that's a terrible cliche that's been used over and over.
It would have reminded me of The Invitation.
God, why would you ever need to be reminded of that movie, man? Jeez.
Because Masandi's in it.
Yeah, she's in Game of Thrones as well, so you can
Yeah,
just
she's in
watch
quite
her
a few
there.
things. Hey, I could just go watch one of the Fast and Furious movies. She's in those too.
You could do that. Yeah.
So yeah, Lee Brandt loses a finger because he tries to leave. Oh, Margot's discussion with Chef in the kitchen was, to me, um, the moment that Margot should have died.
I agree.
I see. Okay, I'm kind of on the same page with you guys, where I think that Margot is kind of like a
He should have.
leaf in
Oh,
this movie.
I don't.
But
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
what?
Sorry.
Yeah, just let me think this through for a second. But I think his obsession with everything being perfect and her being there, he was doing anything to get her the fuck out of there,
Yeah.
without conceding that he made a mistake. So he either wanted to figure out whether she was deserving of death or she was deserving of getting out. And so that's why I think he made so many moves to try to make her make one decision or another.
I agree.
Because his magnum opus would have been ruined if she had died and didn't deserve it. And then he knows that. So he doesn't want her to be there if she doesn't deserve it.
She deserved it.
Not in the sense in why he was doing it to everybody else.
Right. It's very like, oh, you're put upon lady of the night, and we don't want to, make you have to go through the torture that these bourgeoisie are going to go through.
Right. Service workers wouldn't do to service workers what the high class would do to a service worker. If that makes sense. I know I just said the same thing like 3 times, but yeah. I think, but yeah, no, I fully agree, Nick, and that's actually where I was going as well with it. He wasn't necessarily obsessed with her, but he was so obsessed with his work. That's why when Catherine presented her idea, when Jeremy presented his idea, all of these things were a must. That's why everybody that worked there lived there. It was cultish, yes, but it was a necessary thing. It was a need that they were fulfilling. To be a part of something, and all of their something just happened to also coincide with food, or being a chef or being in that capacity. Like Elise wasn't a chef; she just wanted to be in service to a great chef, and that was her thing. Corey says, "If a tree falls in the forest, Margot tells the story in the story, or would there be a story?"
I don't know what story we're talking about. I think
Basically, if Margot
story.
wasn't in the movie, would it matter?
I think it would matter. I think maybe people would like it more too, because I think she's probably the easier criticized thing, because she's just sort of like the audience's eyes at this point. You could remove her and then just have it, all of them die. I'm okay with that. I didn't need her to live.
Fair. Honestly, I thought the movie was about Margot at first until we met the chef. Initially, though, I thought this movie was about Margot.
I did too.
Same. But she's just kind of a passenger in all this, a bystander, actually, who witnesses an island blew up. Yes, that's true. An island did blow up, but he also killed the owner of the island. So and the Coast Guard apparently isn't around. So
yeah, because they've stolen the Coast Guard boat already, which means they killed the Coast Guard. Nobody came looking. That part I didn't really get.
I think that he just has enough money, to pay off the real Coast Guard to not be around, and then you just have one of your people in a Coast Guard boat pretend.
That's fair.
I mean, that radio was only going to that Coast Guard boat anyways, probably.
Right. I think that's the only people that were in range. Let's see. Chef Slowick holds a Q&A after Tia's failed. One of the high class guys goes off after the tacos. Oh, that's right. The tacos were laser printed with images. That was interesting, and that was pretty cool. Because all of these images, in some way or another, uh, they shook up the guests, or at
Yep.
least made the guests ask some level of a question before the Q&A came around. And I thought it was very interesting for Margot to be on the taco, and them not like, clearly they had recognized her from the picture, right? But
Yep.
they didn't know who she was, and that's what made it even crazier. Like, they saw her in the photo, and then she pops up there with him. So it's like, who are you? And that's when I realized, like, oh, that's why they were so, who are you? They've seen you. They really don't know who you are. And they're like, how do you know him?
I
At
mean, I
first, I
think
thought maybe she was the daughter, like
That's what
an
I thought at
illegitimate
first.
daughter or something.
That's what I thought at first too. And then when I realized it was so much sicker than that.
yeah, but I mean, I would have assumed that she was an escort anyways. Just
Or
because
when she saw the guy, that's what I thought. But then I started questioning it.
yeah. When she, I mean, the way that she interacted with Tyler too, became very obvious that, like when you don't know that she's an escort, their relationship seems weird.
Yeah,
But
you almost
then
think
when
they're
you,
just a bad couple.
yeah, like a weird couple that like doesn't have any chemistry, but it's just the fact that he hired a hooker to come with him.
Hmm.
Right.
So
And a hooker connected to the other guy of all
Hmm.
just makes that odd,
well,
like an odd coincidence.
she's in those high class groups,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, she's a
Mhm.
high class escort, and I think that's where Mike saying maybe she deserved to stay in that room as well. Um,
He did.
his Q&A turns into him basically breaking down each of the guests and telling them how shit they are, and then he drowns Doug Varick in front of everybody, which is initially when everybody realizes, like, he's not just killing his own people. Oh my god, it's over. It was crazy to me that it seemed like it took him to drown Doug Varick, who wasn't even a customer from the whole night. It seemed like he needed to do that for it to be put into perspective for everyone. Like, oh no, you're all really about to. This is about to happen.
There is a little bit of hand waving and convenience with some of those elements though too. Like how did you get the owner? Like, oh, now he's just dead, so we don't have to worry about who owns the
Mhm.
island or who paid for all of this.
Yeah, I
Um,
understood the kidnapping and drowning, but I agree with that part. Like, so he ain't got no trust. Pretty
yeah,
sure
yeah.
somebody still owns that island. That's not you,
I,
buddy.
I think this was probably storytelling decisions to try to answer the most basic of questions that one might have, even though there's a lot of questions that you could probably have about all of this.
Hmm.
Um, they did try to explain it away, although I think it might be a flimsy explanation. Like, oh, we have him and now he's dead, so you don't have to worry about where we got this money from, why there won't be anybody around, and why we can blow up an island.
Right,
Yeah, because the owner's dead. Don't worry about it.
right. I figured Doug Varick is that special thing that was kept in that silver door in the kitchen.
Hmm.
Um, we saw them carrying the angel wings earlier, but it just didn't add up for me either. Really, like, oh, so you got this dude? All right, cool. That's how that's going down.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, after that, Margot has to make her decision. She has a discussion with the chef, but right after that, the guys, the gentlemen, they get a chance to run free, which is hilarious. Oh, also after Margot came back from the kitchen, got you. After Margot came back from the kitchen, Tyler asked her, why it's no fair? Why do you get ordered? I mean, why do you get offered the kitchen meal, the kitchen portion? Was it protein or veg? Protein or veg? And it's like, really, dude?
He's the
Like,
worst.
word?
He's absolutely the worst.
Terrible. Corey here says it was interesting, the whole semi-hypnosis code authoritarian control thing that they were doing with the take your seats. It's all part of the menu, and people thinking that it was theater before that, right?
Hmm.
The part of the hypnotism of all of that was him clapping his hands before giving a speech or anything. And I like at the end that Margot caught that, but I'll get to that in one moment, because that really is the only time that I think Margot was necessary as a service worker. She was able to identify what a service worker needed, but that's the end of the movie. Um, So the gentlemen get a 45-second head start, and the ladies are allowed to go inside, and they have a meal by Catherine that is called Man's Folly. After she tells a story of the chef trying to get with her, and then after she denies him trying to take advantage of her.
No, no, no. He didn't try to take advantage of her. He just tried to have sex with her 3 times, and
I
she
thought the
said
second
no each time.
each time. Okay. Yeah, I thought it
Yeah.
was like he tried to force himself after that. I missed that. My mistake.
No,
I
no,
tried
no,
to
no.
do
He
that
was just very insistent. But
insistent.
the sin was that he didn't speak to her for
8
8
months after.
months
Yes, that I
afterwards.
do
Yes.
remember. Yeah.
Right.
You're right. That's the kicker. It's not the
Right.
you're mad she said no. It's yeah.
Yeah. That's
Good.
pretty dumb.
Say it again. Say it again for me, Corey. Just type it right there. We're not even gonna put it on
Yeah.
screen. Just type it in right there.
We know what you
Two
mean.
times back to back. Let's see. So after the ladies eat that and all of the guys are caught, what I think is funny about all of the guys getting caught is where were you gonna go? Like the one guy who
It's an
found the boat,
island.
maybe right, but it's an island. Where were you gonna go? There was no escape. You guys just wasted time. Like you literally just ran to entertain them. And in this one situation, this is the only person I feel did the right thing was Tyler. What am I running for? What y'all eating?
Yeah, right. This is the only part of the menu that doesn't that kind of stands out to me as like not necessary. I don't know why. Why did they even need to have that?
So
the girls could have a little chit chat and like
the girls can have a chit chat and they think how women get together and they think they have that power of persuasion over another woman in their decision. Did you note the moment where they all follow the food critic Lillian's lead and she takes a bite of the food and she's like, oh, this is what is that, the umbrosa or whatever the heck it was called. Wait, I have it written down. Umeboshi, excuse me. And she's mentioning that, and right, I'm a bullshit, exactly. And everybody else kind of like tags on, like, oh yeah, it's so, and like Catherine like kind of faintly cries a little, like, oh, that would have meant so much to me at a different time, like yeah, like oh, if we could just talk about this whole, if we could get out of here instead of dying, like oh the killing you part was my idea. Like, I just want you guys to know, like, this is a committee back here. We all work together. We all agreed that you guys should die, and we're willing to go with you. Like, that's what that was important for, because you had to see how deep it was for the chefs, right?
Yeah. I kind of feel like they didn't need to have that many people. If they had like 4 other chefs, I would find that more plausible. But to have like 30 people ready to just die.
12 people.
Yeah, but they're just ready to die for some other guy's fucking idea. I mean,
the sommelier was willing to die, and all he do is pour wine.
That's exactly it. Like we could have had like a small kitchen with only 3 sous chefs that were dedicated, that were like his apostles, that were willing to die at the end too. To have like a whole crew of 30 people ready to die for you, I don't know. That's a little bit, yeah. And your mother and all the bodyguards died too. The bodyguards weren't like chefs. Why?
Oh yeah, the bodyguards were just muscle. Yes, Corey, all of our grandmothers, 12, that's 30.
Right.
Grandmothers were serving 30 and 35 back in the day. But yeah, 12 was morning breakfast before she woke up and got the cold out of her eye and still had on her muumuu. 12 folk. That's nothing. That's throw that on. She go hop in the shower. No, it ain't even gonna burn. Come back and finish that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, you're right. You guys are both right, actually.
Way too many chefs and too many people like that. There would be at least one person that tried to change their mind,
Well, they again, Catherine just happened to be the person they chose, which I thought was a bad idea.
She didn't really change her mind. I think she was just fucking with him.
No, I think she was 1,000% fucking. No, I think they tried to change her mind, but she was having fun. Right. I would have liked to see at least one of the chefs try to commit some level of mutiny. Just one.
It just seems like that is way too many people to be on board with this whole idea.
Or you find out when she goes to the smokehouse, and remember when she's like, "Oh, you don't touch the meat and all of that." Well, when she goes to the smokehouse and she has to go through, and what if she found another dead chef over in the corner, and then that's where Elise finds her, or even in the house she finds a dead body, and that's where Elise finds her, and it's like, well, that's what happens to those who don't do what they're told, but chef tells them, or yada, whatever, however you want to go about that. But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
add another element to where it's like, why would people be so? Because other than brainwashing, right? Because really,
Yeah.
I have nothing else to go on other than Jim Jones when it comes to why they're so okay with doing this.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, and I can see that. They definitely, with his status as a chef and all of that stuff. But again, yeah, it did feel a little bit like I would think that one person might try to put up a fight.
Yeah, easily at least one person. Corey said it's a cult thing. Their barracks really reminded me of actual boot camp. Yeah,
It definitely looked like bunks and in
that's
the
exactly what it looks like.
shape of barracks too. So yeah.
Yeah, it reminded me of a few things. Seeing Marine Barracks one, and Full Metal Jacket. No, yeah, is that the name of that movie?
There's Full Metal. That is a movie, yes.
That's
Well,
the
it
one with
depends on.
Show me your war face.
yeah.
This is my
Okay.
rifle. This is my gun. This is for
Yeah.
shooting. This is for fun.
Yep.
Right. Yes. Yeah. That's what it reminded me of when Sarge is going off on the boys in the barracks. Just that shot, it sticks into your head. But it made me think of that, and that could have been maybe the cleanliness. But okay, so that's a point, and it's something you said earlier, Nick, and why I wanted to make this point a little earlier. Execution of the stage play or the screenplay, yes. Execution of the setting on stage, interior, okay. Exterior, highly questionable. Like on the outside, when you're looking through the windows on the shots, you can see out the windows. You can literally see the spotlights down on the ground, and you can tell that that's like some level of fabric. It doesn't look like sand.
Yeah, I don't think that there's an island, and I don't think that there was an
I don't think
actual
there's a real
restaurant.
island. No.
No.
The
But I
worry-
get what you mean. They didn't. It doesn't look like they did a whole lot of B-roll where you could see a structure on an island and stuff
Right.
like that. So I think it mostly was just soundstage stuff.
until they show us that bonfire at the end. But
Right. Yeah. Well, what
It
else?
certainly didn't look like an island destroying kind of explosion.
No,
No,
it's just
it was
a
only supposed to
gas
destroy the restaurant.
explosion.
Yeah. Oh, let's not forget the last guy that was caught, who happened to be the publicist for the food critic, got a Passard egg to celebrate being the last person caught.
Yeah, and they just let him sit there and eat it. That was nice.
And I think it was ironic that he's in the chicken coop and he's given a Passard egg as the treat.
Yeah, I think that that's another sort of like meta. I think that's the comedy when they say this is a comedy, because they do for some reason. It's not as funny as you would think it would be, but that's the comedy that they're talking about. The guy hiding in the chicken coop for his life got an egg.
He knew they were gonna die, but he took her anyway. Oh,
It's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
laughs. Got it.
Yes.
Ew.
Yeah, it is a little bit pretentious with its comedy, that's for sure. But I don't know if that's like to critique pretension or
I mean, everything about this movie is
exercise
pretentious, isn't it?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I
but
mean,
it's
it just-
also
it's-
but its message is anti-pretension, which
Right.
is
So that's the comedy of it.
mhm.
You're right, and I think that's why even the chefs had to go, including Stoic, maybe even the security to a level, because they've all gotten to this level of being these high class chefs and workers for these people, to where they've become accustomed to the lifestyle of catering to these people, so they in fact live the same lifestyle, so they're guilty of a lot of the same things.
Maybe.
And Chef actually says that to a level later in the movie, when he, when they're having kind of like that whole sit down moment, he and Margot, and he's like, I too am a monster, was a monster, and fell victim to these things. It was like, okay, like we supposed to feel bad for you now, pimp? It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, he said
not gonna
he was a whore.
A whore.
Yeah.
I mean, Margot is a whore, but Erin is from Brockton, Mass, and she's a good person.
Well, Chef said he was a whore too. Yeah. But yeah, let's get through this because
Yeah.
we're gone too slow, I think.
Yeah.
Where else we
I mean,
have?
I don't think there's too much after that though, really. Um,
Tyler kills
Tyler,
himself, thank
yeah,
goodness.
yeah. Tyler has to go and kill himself.
After
After his
making
great lamb chop.
He
oh,
tried to kill the chef with that.
that was raw.
It was
Yeah.
super raw. How you gonna sear that thing for 30 seconds?
And
And I think he's done.
he chopped the leeks and the shallots so thick that they were just like, what are you even
Chunks.
doing?
Didn't peel a thing. Didn't wash a thing.
No. Yeah.
Did he
Because he
season?
didn't.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
not,
Terrible cook.
because he's not a chef. He's a gourmand. He knows how to eat it.
Yes, he doesn't know how to make it. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to make it.
I think that might have been another shot at
Yeah.
the comedy there.
I think so. I think that's a shot at, food critics in general, because most food critics aren't chefs, obviously.
Right.
That's terrible.
They work off of the salt, acid, heat, and fat, like metric, where you have to identify the elements of each of those quadrants in order to understand the food that you're eating and all that.
What?
So, yeah, man, it's a good book. I've read it.
I don't even know
Well,
if you
part
got
of
the
it
book.
now. Oh, check it out. Grab it. It's I think it's a Persian lady that wrote it, but it's called Acid, Salt, Fat, and Heat, and it helps identify how to identify those elements to create a really delicious dish.
Okay. I've never even heard of that. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, her theory is that basically, in order to cook a good dish, that's all you need is salt, acid, fat, heat.
Salt, acid. Yeah. If that maybe that'll make me a better cook because I like cooking. I'm not Tyler. I will never claim to be any of that.
Yeah, I'm not as shitty as Tyler either.
No, not at all.
I don't think most people are.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully.
And yeah, so yeah, we already know about Tyler and his private access. Moving forward, he hangs himself. Oh, so Elsa is her name. Elsa follows Margot when Margot was sent to get the barrel, and they in turn end up having a fight because Margot ended up going into the chef's cottage. She wasn't supposed to because nobody's allowed in there, and basically Elsa's just jealous because she feels like Margot is going to take her job, which delusional much. Nobody wants your job to
Right.
off yourself
No.
at the end of the night. What's wrong with you, lady?
But she was also pissed because Chef didn't tell her about the barrel, which is again another proof that Chef wanted Margot
Wanted
to
her
find a
gone.
way out. Yeah.
Which, yeah, and that's the whole thing is I believe that when he sent her to get the barrel, I thought that's when he wanted her to try to escape.
I think he knew that she would go snooping in his house
And find the
then
radio to call the boat in.
Right.
You're right, because he does say, "Oh, you found the radio," and it's like, how would she find the radio when she wasn't supposed to be over there? You're right.
Right. Yeah.
You're
And if
absolutely
it was an excuse to get the boat back to the island so she could use it to escape.
That's a good
That's
point.
all that was.
Elsa said Chef was setting her up. She didn't
Yes.
forget. Okay.
She did, and I really wish that Margot had at least before the thrusting of the blade. I wish Margot and she had a moment to discuss that at least two more lines. At least two more lines.
No. You got to die right before the vital information. That's
Like,
movie
bruh.
trope 101.
Because that made me think that Chef was gonna find a way to wiggle out on his own and leave everybody else there to, you know what I mean?
Well, my money to jiggle jiggle. It folds.
I don't even know how that applies to this. So yeah,
I just felt like it.
everybody is on payroll, and oh wait, sorry. Before everybody's on payroll, Elsa saw the pictures in Chef's office. This is the pivotal part. She saw the pictures in Chef's office. She saw that he used to flip burgers at the burger joint, and that's the only photo. That was the first photo, clearly his youngest photo of him having a smile. He was smiling in every photo except for the photo in which they're opening Hawthorne. And we saw that he has a child, which I thought was interesting. Because we didn't hear anything about any of that. We just saw the photo. So fast forward, because Margot's already killed Elsa. She's already called the Coast Guard. Then she saw all of this. Then once Chef sees the Coast Guard coming and he, oh, you called the Coast Guard. And, he deems her a bad person now and moves on. He goes and he tells them to start plating the fifth course. So in this moment is when I realized what Margot's importance was, if there were any. You needed somebody who was a ground floor worker to understand the core of who the chef was and what he was saying about not enjoying cooking anymore. Now I think it was cheap, but that's essentially what they're doing here,
Yeah,
and
but it's
that's what.
also a perfect sort of end cap to his menu, right?
Yeah,
Because it's the thing that got him in love with cooking in the first place. So it's almost like it was unintentional, but then became intentional because Margot orders the cheeseburger at the end.
right. He was a happy
Yeah.
burger flipper, Corey. Yeah, and
Mhm.
I think the way she was able to identify, you see that face or that moment where she's literally sitting there contemplating, what am I gonna do? You know, um, and then she tells him, she wants to return his food. It's boring. She tells him how he's ruined the restaurant experience. And what's even worse than all of that, she's still hungry. And it seems like her being hungry was the kind of the ticker. Like, wait, you still hungry?
Well, she didn't eat any of the food.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which was the main issue he had is, why aren't you eating? Like, this is what I do for a living, so I have to know what's wrong with my food, why you won't eat it. Which I also thought was a beautiful sentiment from his side. So yeah, we get the fifth course. She tells him that he asks her what she wants because he can make anything for her in that kitchen, and she tells him she wants a hamburger, medium.
Cheeseburger.
Or sorry, yeah, you're right. Cheeseburger, medium with American cheese, and he comments that American cheese doesn't split. Blah blah blah. They get to it. Oh, French fries. She
Crinkle
never
cut.
tells him. She never tells him which ones, but he does bring crinkle cut.
Because crinkle cut are the best French fries.
Straight out the
Hands
frozen
down.
bag.
Hands down, crinkle cut are the best French fries.
Is it because they hold salt in the grooves?
Yes, sir. You know it.
Nice.
Is that a real thing?
Go to Del Taco, man. I tell you.
Yes, that is a real
I tell
thing.
you what.
And Del Taco will add as much salt as you ask for. Straight up. Just, it is what it is.
Oh, don't tell
Where's
him she
the-
went to Brown and doesn't have student loans. Oh yeah, that chick got
Oh, yeah. I thought
got
that
it
was-
dirty.
Wow. It was like, wait, what about me? What school did you go to? Brown? Student loans? No. Okay, so let me
I'm
just.
sorry you die.
Yeah. I'm like, hold
I-
on. I know
I didn't
plenty-
quite get that part.
It's just it's the proletariat thing. It's
Yeah.
that she's rich. She's a rich kid who went to an Ivy League and doesn't have student loans.
Oh,
Therefore,
okay.
her parents paid for it, and now she deserves to die.
Which,
I
some
mean,
people
yeah.
get scholarships.
Yeah, but this is very down with the bourgeoisie movie,
No, I get it.
so
And most
she's
people with
obviously
scholarships end up having
guilty.
to take out a small loan at some point, even if it's like 50, 60, you get a car or something.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, and I like that his sort of anti-bourgeoisie sentiment is reflected in his sort of rabid death cult that he has that ends up killing itself at the end anyways, which is much more like the revolutionary energy. So I think it fits.
True,
think
because
it
you never
fits.
know, that could definitely change I think that would have been a nice addition at the end, like a excerpt about how the restaurant industry changed for the better after this or something. That would have been the comedy
Yeah.
right there.
One less pretentious restaurant. Yeah.
Right. But so he makes her the burger, brings it to her. It's a double, which I thought was very, very clever of him. Because you know what the best burgers are to me? Doubles.
Mhm.
I mean,
Double,
the
double.
cheeseburger, if you give me a single cheeseburger, I'm gonna look at you like, so is there another burger coming? Like, I'll take
Yeah.
2 more buns. if
Always
it's
get
just
a double
what it is.
burger. Double
But-
cheeseburger, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's cheese. The cheese got to stick to something other than bread.
What?
I
No
like
bacon?
his technique of using the onions and then flipping it onto the grill. That was a good one. I'm gonna try
Yeah.
that.
That was good.
Yeah.
I thought it was clever because you get a semi-grilled onion, and it adds moisture
Mhm.
amongst other things.
Y'all
Flavoring.
making me hungry.
I know. I wanted to eat that burger. It looked good.
Yeah, that cheeseburger was that's the thing. Look, I wrote the whole menu down, and I don't care how intricate it was and how many times I read it over. The cheeseburger was the only thing that, when I read it, made me go, "I could eat that right now."
Yeah.
Man.
Gotta
And
love
even
a
his name,
cheeseburger. Man.
the cheap kind that your parents still couldn't afford. Like,
Mhm. Oh yeah.
you know how to
Tommy's.
talk, right? You know how to talk food to me, chef.
Yeah.
Talk food.
Tommy's
Um,
chili burgers, man.
Oh man,
Mm.
I can't do Tommy's.
Nobody can do Tommy's past 30, Mike.
No, you can't. That's only for young stomachs.
Tommy's is no good after you hit about 26, and once you have to decide which liquor is your liquor, that's when you have to stop eating Tommy's. Now
Yes,
we
sir.
know until about 23 you can drink whatever the hell you want to, but at about 25, 26 you better pick your lane.
Yeah. And Tommy's in nobody's lane.
Tommy's in
Man,
nobody's lane. If you can
I
still
can't
eat
tell you the last time I ate Tommy's. I was like, nope, not again.
Tommy's after you've crossed into your 30s, you have an iron god stomach. Like something is going very, very
I
well.
was in my 30s the last time.
Man,
Nobody
that
can
thing
Early
will soak,
30s.
that'll soak up a hangover, though. I'll tell you
Yes,
what.
yes, it will.
Yeah.
Yes, it will. I give you a food hangover, but
Yes.
it will
Better
soak
than
up
an
everything else.
alcohol hangover.
All that oil. And don't forget the peppers.
Mhm.
So she gets she gets the burger. It's delicious. She takes a bite. She even ASMR'd it and shit. But it's too large, and maybe her eyes were bigger than her stomach. And I was like, ooh, she clever. Again, for me, this is where if you know, you know. If a chef's food is so good that you want to make sure that you take it with you so that you don't leave it behind and you can enjoy that in the comforts of your home, a lot of chefs take that as a real compliment.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
all.
Well, yeah, they don't want you leaving it. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
But right, it's like the fact that you have the integrity of, hey, no, I want to make sure I take this with me. I'm not leaving it on the plate.
Mhm.
I remember the first time I found out that most chefs, or a good portion of chefs, like actually appreciate that because it lets them know it was good enough to take outside of the restaurant. I didn't know. I actually used to think that was disrespectful when I was younger. Like, and I just was like, well, I got to do it. Like, I used to try to eat my whole plate, and if I didn't finish my whole plate, I'd be like, oh, well, I guess I'll take a doggy bag. And then I got older and found out, like, oh no, it's kind of a pat on the back. It's like, oh, hey, let me get 2 doggy
Hey,
bags.
some chefs find it a compliment if you belch.
I have never heard that. That's one for the books.
Yeah,
That's
I
one for the
think
books.
it's Japanese.
I do know that pasta is not one of those
I don't
things that
remember.
like you take it home because pasta's not always good reheated, but that's another conversation. But yeah, so she gets a doggy bag, which almost puts a smile on his face. And then after she asked him at the beginning how much that was going to run her, he said $9.95. He gives her a gift bag and she places $10 on the table, and then he nods to security to let her go. She gets to the boat. She goes out to the boat, gets out to the middle of the ocean. We flash back and we see that everyone in the restaurant is being fitted with marshmallow jackets and chocolate hats, which I'm like, yo, nobody? We just don't.
That was the funniest part of the movie. I laughed genuinely when they put
I
the
understand
marshmallow
why everybody
vest.
was scared, but just sat there for that.
I know. I would have gone out fighting, man. Why
I
not?
think it was guilt. I think when you're that much of a POS and you know it and somebody's calling you on it, it's like, you know what? He's right. Like, consider the people in that room. Which of them do you think were called out at any point, especially by someone who's doing a service for them?
Keelan,
Sir,
I feel what you're trying to say.
I know.
I think it, but there's the Keeler might be onto something there a little bit though too, because if somebody had tried to run out and escape and then was shot by a guard, the entire night would have been ruined.
Mhm.
So
I don't give a damn.
it stands to reason he might have let somebody go if they ran away.
I think he would have. I think that was the point of when the Coast Guard came. He's like, don't try to escape now. Like, some of you guys could have tried harder. Why didn't you? And now he's also mentally played them. Like, again, the whole clapping before he speaks and everything. It's a level of hypnosis. They're in a trance. And that's why it's so much.
And then presented with trauma, and you get this sort of trauma bonds, and then you're creating an MK Ultra victim, basically. Yeah.
Essentially. I mean, even think about when Erin or Margot, whichever we're calling her at this point, where she's walking out, the looks of appreciation, the looks of admiration, like, it's okay, you can go. Bitch, it's not okay. I'm not about to die and be okay with you leaving. Oh, I don't know. I might be wrong.
I'm just saying.
I might be wrong.
She
for
get
that.
to live and I gotta go? No. That's not how this game finna play out, dog. Sorry. What was that?
Well, yeah. But they did do that at Jonestown, and that's why most people actually didn't take their lives willingly. Um, they were gunned down because most of them, I think, a lot of them refused the not Kool-Aid. It was something else. It was off-brand Kool-Aid.
It was, yeah, it wasn't. It was a elixir. Let's just call it that, the elixir.
Mhm.
But damn, I'm sorry, Corey. You caught me off guard, and I know I done mentioned him like 4 times in this episode, but that caught me. And good show, sir. You got me on that one. But yeah, no, they did. And if we're being honest, there was a level of this movie that made me reflect back to damn, was it Paid in Full? People get shot every day, B, and nobody got shot.
Well, except for the mess.
I forgot about that. The
He
mess,
shot
yeah,
himself.
he did shoot himself. Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. You are.
All right.
But yeah. So
What else?
Aaron watches from a boat, and that's it. Everything is wrapped. Everybody. Oh, sorry. After they're fitted with their marshmallow jackets and their chocolate hats, the chef, who's already told you that he can grab a cast iron skillet from the stove or out of the oven and carry it to your plate with bare hands, he picks up a coal or a fire hot piece of wood out of the stove, walks to the middle of the room while still giving his speech, and after the other chefs have made the entire room into a giant smorgasbord of s'mores. Didn't realize I was about to say that. He drops the he drops the coal, and the entire room is ignited. Him first, spreading out to everyone else. They all become a s'more together, and you see the chefs turn on the gas. A giant flame is in between them all. We jump out to Aaron, and boom,
Mhm.
out goes the restaurant. The
All
end.
right.
There's absolutely nothing after that. No end credit scenes. Oh, Margot is still a disrespectful shit because she is now eating her burgers sitting on the boat, and she wipes her face with the menu. I thought she had some respect for Chef, honestly, until she wiped her mouth with that menu.
I wanted her to die.
Well, when she took that Carl's Jr. Commercial bite out of that burger, that irritated me.
Oh yeah, she just
I
smushed her
didn't like
face
her from the
against it
very
for a
beginning.
second. Yeah, we know that you didn't like her, but unfortunately, she's still in this movie. All right.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Hey, look, you know what? If we're coming down to it, a lot of main characters just aren't likable. We're thinking. I think we all agree they're being made to be unlikable at this point, and it's unlikable.
Yeah.
I liked the chef because
I love the chef. The chef was the reason I stayed in this movie.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'm a
me too.
huge fan of Voldemort.
Yeah, exactly.
This is fair.
Rafe. His name is Rafe, but it looks like it's Ralph.
Is his name Rafe and not Ralph?
It's Rafe.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoa!
Rafe Fiennes.
I thought it was
Or
Ralph.
just Ray Fiennes.
Ray Fiennes. That sounds like Ray from Sister Sister.
Yeah. It's a very strange. I think it's Welsh. He's a Welshman.
Fair.
They have a weird alphabet there. All right, last thoughts, verdicts. Let's go. I'm feeling a 6. I think this is fine. It was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. The story is pretty unique. I liked the sort of ideas. I like Ray Fiennes. I think he's a great actor. I think there was a little bit of humor in it, but the elements were pretty surprising nonetheless. I like some of its commentary about just the excess of pushing things out to absurdity and how it kind of strips the love and the I guess the satisfaction that comes with the act. So yeah, I think like a 6. I'm pretty solid with that. I might be inclined to go higher, but I think a 6 is fine.
Yeah, I think a 6 is actually pretty solid. I'm actually at about the same, a solid 6, possibly a 5.5, but I feel like a 5.5 is like I didn't really like it, but it did its job. I actually liked this, and it did its job. The things I didn't like, I don't think are enough to really take too much from it, but it wasn't good enough to approach that apex without the emotion number, like that 7-8 for me. Uh, so yeah, I'll side with a solid 6 as well.
Okay. And Mike?
I gave it a solid 7. I enjoyed it quite a bit because it was just a difference from what I'm normally watching. Because for me, when I look at horror movies, I'm looking for monsters and violence and zombies or demons. We got that with people who are alive and regular, but they were monsters, zombies, and demons.
That's a good
Mm.
point. That's a very fair point, Mike.
All
So
right.
I enjoyed it quite a bit.
So
I got all
7.
my favorite horror elements, except for the girl living at the end. I thought she was the one who should have died the most.
Yeah, you said
Yeah.
that. All
Did I
right.
say that before?
Point noted.
Okay, you're too far away. I can't hear. We can't hear you anymore.
Sorry, I said, did I say that before?
Yes, you
Yeah.
did. We
A
got
few
you.
times. All right. Well, that brings us to a 19 out of 30, which I believe is like a 6.2, 6.1.
Yeah, 6.6. Yeah, 6.3 or 4, something like that. All right. Corey's got his comments here. He's gonna let us know what he thinks.
Corey says, yeah, I see what they did, and it wasn't done badly at all. But this whole elitist down with the proletariat messaging usually falls flat for me. Understandable. And this is no exception. Also understandable. I'm a welder, one of the actual hammer people being symbolized, and my reverse snobbery always bubbles up to reject this kind of crap. Will Ferrell can kiss my ass. Solidarity denied. I actually understand exactly what you mean with the Will Ferrell part because he's always talking about holding solidarity with the service workers, and I don't understand when you look at a lot of things that he'll put in his movies, and then he'll try to stand with you guys, and so to speak. I don't think I can speak too heavily on it, but I've heard him make those statements. I remember when he did. It was a movie where he worked at the Staples Center for a while, and he was like, "Yeah, I wanted to do the actual job," and it's like, but what
It's
did you do
always
for?
it's always disingenuous when millionaires talk about regular people's
Yeah, I mean, you're
experiences.
doing it as research for your job. What did you do for the people who you are doing their job and you're out there with them? What did you show? How did you actually show your solidarity by saying hi and shaking hands? That's not solidarity.
I don't
So
even
yeah,
think you can at that point. I mean, you've taken the money, right? Solidarity would be living at the same means as everybody else, which that's a whole nother issue.
yeah.
Um,
And Corey says this is a 3 for him because of his personal prejudices, and again, understandable, Corey.
mhm.
Well, explained as well.
Yeah, I think you're justified to experience it that way. I think for me that might have been part of the absurdity. I kind of see it as like the way, um, like they try to be. They think they're being witty, but they're actually sort of telling on themselves as well. And to me, this just kind of reeked of people with guilty consciences, sort of telling on themselves about how shitty they make things. So. But yeah. Like I do get this like pandering to the proletariat thing is always kind of cringy for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. And Mike is also very upset that Anya Taylor-Joy didn't die.
He
Oh, you
won't
caught
let it
that?
go.
I thought you might have missed that part.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure I reiterated just in case anybody forgot. Are we good? Are we
I
done?
think we are good. So
Okay,
yes, that
cool.
gives us again 6.2, 6.3 ish.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for Corey, as always, for hanging out with
Yeah.
us.
We appreciate
This has
you
been our
watching this with
right,
us.
right.
Sorry
Um,
that it wasn't as good. We'll try to pick a better one next time. Although
yeah,
you've seen enough of our shows, you know that we pick some stinkers. So
yeah.
Yeah,
just be
We
especially
prepared.
me.
enjoy talking about. But yeah, and to be clear, I honestly didn't think this was as bad. And in my opinion, the rating proves that it's not as terrible as a lot of the other things we've saw last year. I think it's a decent start to 2023, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, with that being said, thank you guys for hanging out here for our review of the menu here on the Screen Time Continuum.
Yes,
Be
sir.
sure to come around and check us out. We have a bunch of different shows that we would love for you guys to like, subscribe, and follow. Like, subscribe, and follow. And when you do that, make sure you tell your friends about it. Find your favorite episodes, put them in your save file. Heck, save them offline. You never know when you're going to be on an airplane and you just want to hear us talk about some stuff. Go ahead and take down all of the shows that we do have. First, you can head on over to the Thinkering Talks page on Facebook. That is our main hub. You'll find the majority of the shows running straight through there, so you can go from there and branch out. Every show has its own individual landing page on Facebook, YouTube, and or Twitch. You also can find us on other podcast platforms, Spotify, Verbal, Rumble, you name it. We might just be on there. Run our names through. First, you're going to go on over to If Numbers Could Talk. If Numbers Could Talk comes on Thursdays at 8 p.m. You'll be on Wednesday.
Tuesdays.
What did I say?
Thursday.
I said Thursdays? Ooh.
What day is your own show, Keelan?
That's right. Exactly. Sorry about that, guys. Tuesday. On Tuesday, you can check out If Numbers Could Talk. That's me, Keelan, at 8 p.m. right there for you. On Wednesday, you'll be right here with us on the Screen Time Continuum. Hey, it's Wednesday right now, so you already knew that. On Thursday, you can head on over to Twitch, and you'll be able to check out Strawberries in Coffee, where Dejan will be giving you all kinds of games out in his archives, as well as Mike over at King_of_Ilion, where he is currently finishing the Dying Light 2. After Thursday, you're going to roll on over on Fridays and you're going to check out the Exofathom. Exofathom is available for you on Fridays at 8 p.m. Saturdays, you're going to check out This Married Moment. This Married Moment is available for you Saturdays between the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. on Saturdays. And on Sundays, you're going to be right back here at the Screen Time Continuum, rounding your week out or starting your week off, depending on how you look at that. Maybe we give you the second day off of the week, your first day, depends on what your work schedule looks like. But we appreciate you guys for checking us. We appreciate you for hanging out. Shout out to Corey for always being there, giving great
Corey.
input. We appreciate that, brother. For the Screen Time Continuum, my name is Keelan.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Mike.
Appreciate you guys. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Yes, chef.
Remember, don't eat.